So again, back to De Morgan's law. That video may have been a little bit hard to understand the audio, but the key for that was looking at the Venn diagrams and understanding how the De Morgan's law was proved. So let's consider the following statement. It is not true that he took both Core 5 and Physics. So formally we would write, it is not true that he took Core 5 and Physics 1. That is an awful English statement. It is not true that he took Core 5, right? I mean, nobody would speak like that. So reversing this makes a little bit more sense. Instead of saying that, we're going to switch this to he took Core 5 and switch this to he took Physics 1. And fixing this, he did not take Core 5 or he did not take Physics 1. That's a little bit easier to understand grammatically. So you'll find that sometimes using De Morgan's law actually makes English sentences make more sense. But in logic, they don't care. I mean, they don't care about using double negatives in logic at all. There's no problem with that. But in English language, sometimes this is really challenging to understand. And you want to make sure you're saying the same thing. So even in terms of writing an English paper, sometimes applying De Morgan's law can be an effective thing to do. So let's take a look at another one. So he took Core 5 but not Physics. C is true, P is false. Or not P is true. He took Physics but not Core 5. P is true, C is false, or not C is true. And he did not take either Core 5 or Physics 1. C is false, P is false, or not P and not C are true. So this helps us kind of understand really the statement better by applying De Morgan's law. We can understand a little bit better what the statement is really trying to say by applying De Morgan's law to it. So here's another one, another way of looking at it. Given the expression in De Morgan's law, essentially what we're doing is we're switching the and to an or, and we're applying the not to both the C and the P. So the first version was, it is not true that he took both Core 5 and Physics 1. Very awkward English sentence. A better English sentence would be, he did not take Core 5, or he did not take Physics 1. That's clearer. That's easier to understand. But you have to be able to make sure you are still saying the same thing and prove that. And De Morgan's law allows you to do that. It takes something that was awkward and make it a little bit easier to understand. So let's have you guys try this one. I'm going to have you pause the video and give this a try. So hopefully, this is what you got. This makes so much more sense. The book is not boring, and the newspaper is not interesting. That is so much clearer. That is such a better sentence just by applying De Morgan's law. It means exactly the same thing as the first one. Now, interesting about De Morgan's law is it works both ways. So you could take something that is, okay, in this case actually makes sense. It's a good sentence. But we could take it and reverse it. He did not take Core 5 or he did not take Physics 1 and reverse that to say it is not true that he took both Core 5 and Physics 1. Not a great way of saying it, but we can apply De Morgan's law. Same thing with here with our last statement. We could take the statement we just wrote and rewrite it. It is not true that the book is boring or the newspaper is interesting. So you could reverse that statement. Not great ways of writing in English, but sometimes it's easier to figure out the logic for this as opposed to figuring out the logic for this. So, method of simplifying Boolean logic using the not. In computer science, these are the symbols we use for Java, and it's not a or not B. That's how Java writes it. And for the other version, for the or, it becomes not A, ampersand, ampersand, not B. That's how Java writes it. So here's an example. We would say not, well, the opposite of this would be x is not equal to 1, or y is not equal to 1. So there's a code example for you. This is always on the AP exam, so make sure you know how to do it. Always, always, always on the AP exam. They love having you compare conditions and seeing, which ones are the same. So there is a exit ticket for this and a practice assignment. You guys can work on the exit ticket now and then do the practice assignment afterwards. Make sure you get the feedback on the exit ticket first before you dive into the practice, just to make sure you know what's going on. Okay? See you next time.